Welcome to Origin Stories. I'm RD.
I'm Parrott.
We're telling stories behind the digital art revolution.
Each week we interview top artists
and live stream with the community.
Let's go. Today is tomorrow's origin story.
Alexi, Aeforia, we made it. Here we are.
Yes. So nice to be here, man.
Welcome to Origin Stories.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on this show. I told you earlier before we started this, but I'm a huge fan of what you guys are doing, and I really want to shout out all the effort that you put in, you and Parrott, of course. Such genuine people doing some great work highlighting the artists in this space. So nothing but praise for you guys, for real.
Thank you so much. And I was a praise for a praise. I also said before,
Yeah.
that your personality is something that I think shines through on every medium you communicate on. You really lead with it, and just from the support in your posts, in your comments, and beyond. So I definitely appreciate the vibe that you are bringing to the space. And of course, what we're here to discuss, the art that you are bringing to the space as well. You know how it all begins, right?
Yes,
it all
I'm
begins,
familiar.
Yes,
I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
It all begins with your origin. So,
yes.
Alexi, what is your origin story?
Yes, that's a good question. To me, it kind of all started back in 2014. I've never been a guy who was interested in visual arts before. I would say though that I've always liked the idea of creating something, probably because when I was a child, I was drawing these random comics about Kirby. I don't know why. I just liked the character. It was like not too hard to draw, and I was making those comics, and I had like 10 different comics with adventures and all that stuff, and I was so proud of it that maybe when I think about it, this is probably like the seed of my growing desire to create stuff. But until 2014, it's pretty much dead. There's nothing going on until I find an application on the Apple App Store.
Okay.
It was called Fragment, and I don't know if you're familiar with Tame Impala, the artist.
No.
But great musician. His first album is called Inner Speaker, and the cover art is kind of like this geometrical effect that's done on the image. So like the edges are repeated towards the center, and it creates such an abstract and nice effect. Like this is the example I always use to explain what this app could let me do. So essentially you would bring an image into the app, and you could add those special shapes, and it would like distort the image. And that blew my mind. I was so impressed by it that I started creating those abstract artworks for my band.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the band for almost 10 years, and I would say that this is probably the catalyst for me because it gave me a purpose to create art in the first place, even though I don't consider what I was creating as art. It was just like me discovering something. So yeah, I found this app, but then I found like 15 other apps on the App Store, and I just downloaded all of them and I started playing with them. It kind of was like if I had Photoshop on my iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2014, that was quite a big deal because there was no such app made by Adobe to create stuff like that, So I started doing these mobile edits. That's what we called them. And quickly enough, I started sharing them on Instagram. Like it took me probably 2 weeks before I realized that I could share those on my Instagram, because I remember downloading the app first before that, and I deleted it because I found no interest in sharing about my personal life. I didn't want to share pictures of my food or the animals I had at my parents or whatever, So when I found that I could share something a bit more meaningful to me and more personal and more unique, I was so compelled by the idea. And luckily for me, I found that there was a bunch of people doing the same thing. And so like rapidly, I kind of had this this sense of community that I felt through sharing art on Instagram, because I found people like me who were doing the same thing, and that kind of hooked me for real. Like at that point, I was so hooked by the whole thing that I just started creating artworks after artworks, and I kept wanting to refine my stuff. Downloaded some more apps. I spent more time on my phone creating works, sharing those, and quickly I found some kind of style. It was not the style I have today, but I was feeling like I had my own place in that community, and that was so rewarding. It was the first time in my life I felt something like that, and upon that point, I just decided to move on to Photoshop because it was the natural way of progressing for me, and I just wanted to refine my work some more. So I downloaded Photoshop, kept doing that stuff, and at the same time, I was studying in sciences. I was here in Quebec. We have this kind of bridge school between high school and university, which is called Cégep. So this is like 2 or 3 years depending on the program. So I was doing a program in sciences, so biology, physics, chemistry, all that stuff. And I was in there because I felt like I had good grades, and that was like my thing. But on the side, I was like working on this art little project that was slowly growing and getting more of my attention. I was kind of distracted from school to work on those art projects. And my degree in sciences came to an end, and I didn't know what to do for studies. I'm kind of sidetracking right now, but it's important to understand.
Of course. That's why we're here. We could take as many sidetracks and twists and turns as you would like to. Awesome.
So stay close to me on this one. I have this degree that I finished, and I don't know what to do. I've never feel like when I asked myself what kind of job would fulfill me and make me happy, I had no idea. And I was trying to find something related to the field I was studying in, like medicine, engineering. Nothing really appealed to me, as much as I was doing fine with that, I had no deep interest into it. But I still decided to study electric engineering because I felt like as a person who I consider myself a creative, so I was like interested in engineering. I tried, I got in and I tried to do 1 semester, but I left after one because I just felt like it wasn't for me, And on this side, I had this art project that was so dear to me, and that was so much more fun. I didn't feel like I was working when I was doing that kind of stuff, and therefore I decided to leave engineering and focus on my art journey. And so I took like a semester off and started working on building a portfolio to apply in graphic design here in Montreal. So of course I had no background in that, no clients, like maybe 3 clients for some small artworks, but nothing really huge, no real experience. So I just started making these fictional projects for myself. I remember I made a pasta box. So I invented the brand, I invented the packaging. On the lid inside, it had like 2 holes to measure the portion. So it was like a pretty cool concept, I was really stoked by it. And those kinds of projects that I just invented for myself to build a portfolio, and the stuff I was passionate about. And I was the most happy person probably on the day that I knew that I was accepted in both programs I applied to. So can I pause you there for 1 second? Yeah, sure. I feel like I'm going forever.
No, this is good. This is good. And I'm now curious. I'm lining some questions up in my own head. So to back you up, because you just said, you were so excited when you were accepted, and it seems like you're moving forward in a really positive sense there. But to pull it back, sounds like you took a risk, right? That could be perceived from the outside to say, oh, okay. Yeah. So he's, didn't just threw himself in, and like you said, you only had a couple small clients or projects that you were working on.
Was nothing huge. Like I think it was like a bunch of artworks for some music artists, and it was not really high paying or whatever. But I was already blown away that I could actually make money out of it. But yeah, back to the risk itself, it was definitely a huge decision, because I took this decision of leaving the program when I was like at the middle of the semester. So I had the other half to do, and I couldn't just quit like that because it would affect my grades.
Sure.
And having no art background, to apply in the graphic design program, I needed to have good grades. They would consider like 50% of my evaluation would be based on my score, my grades, just in general, my performance in school. So I had to finish this semester, even though I knew that I would never do it ever again. It was the hardest 7 weeks of my life, I would say, because it's not easy, you know. It's a hard program, and like there's a lot to take in, and if you don't have like even a little bit of motivation, it's just daunting. It's so
Sure.
hard. And when I announced to my parents that I was doing that, at first my father was quite skeptical, you know. And he was right to think so, because when you graduate in engineering, you're kind of it's kind of 100% sure that you're going to get a good job, a good paying job as well, you know. So it's a good salary, it's in demand. And he was like, "Are you sure that you want to do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, I mean, I'm not having fun. I don't feel like I'm going to do this the rest of my life. And I feel confident in myself to learn graphic design." And what he told me, he said, "You know, Alexia, I'll always support you, but if you do that choice, make sure you become the best at it." And
That's a good dad.
yeah, and since then he's been my biggest fan. Of course, we can talk about that later, but he's been collecting NFTs as well.
I was just going to ask you, I believe your dad has an NFT collection.
Yeah, he has, and he's really good at it. He's probably texting me about the ferocious auction that's going on.
Yeah. Yes.
I had to mute my phone because he kept texting me. So he's really enjoying the whole space. And my mom, she told me that she knew it. She was like, "I told you." I don't remember her telling me, but she said that she told me so, and that she knew that I was not really following what was made for me. So it's great. I have supportive parents. I'm really lucky for that. So yeah, back to the graphic design. Well, I got accepted, and I was so happy, and I saw that as a sign that I made the right decision, you know. And eventually I started learning 3D because I found the works of people, you know, the legend and Slime Sunday. Back in the days, he was doing some great 3D stuff, even still to this day with the SSX Blau project.
Yes.
Great stuff. And those two guys were like the major inspirations for me to try it out for myself. And from that point, I mean, the rest, I mean, most people are probably familiar with what happened next. But my origin story would really start from that single mobile app that led me to change my whole life, like 180 degrees. It's just crazy.
And I love that you mentioned 2014 as well, because one of the things that I love to do is go back into someone's, let's say, portfolio and Instagram account. And I scrolled all the way back to 2014 when your first Instagram, at least the first one that you've remained up. Because I've run into this issue before where I said, that was your first Instagram post. It wasn't my first Instagram post. It's the last one that I left up. So either way, August 22nd, 2014. And
what is it again? Is it me playing piano?
It is. Yeah, you're playing a melody.
Yeah. I've deleted a bunch of posts, and I regret, because I know some people are like, they don't want to keep the whole the old stuff on their pages, but to me it's like, it's just it just shows a progression, you know. And having this for me is like a time capsule. I go back to a certain artwork, and I can remember what kind of person I was, what friends I had, like what was going on in my life, because I've been so close to my own work that like to me each piece is like can help me remember what happened. So I don't want to delete them anymore.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. Something I've been thinking a lot about is growing up, right, as a child, I did not have a lot of photographs around. And so my first several years are somewhat fractured memory-wise, right? I always thought, do I have a bad memory? Why can this person remember when they were 3 years old and not my first memories are kicking in when I'm 5 years old, you know? But I really think there's something to photographs anchoring memories as a young child. And it's interesting that you say that in regards to, you know, now that you've built up this vast portfolio of art, I can imagine things get lost, right? From the outside looking in, it's easy to say, like, of course you should remember every piece of artwork. But when you're producing at the level that you are, creating at the level that you are, sure, you know, 5 years ago, it may be hard to keep track unless you have that rolling log of an Instagram or something like it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of weird because Instagram has always been kind of intertwined with my creative process. You know, as I said, I've been like 2 weeks into creating art. I was already sharing. So Instagram for me has always been like this place for me to just keep track of my evolution, and also this place where I could connect with people through my art. So of course, like now, as I'm looking back on what I did, I will never delete a post that I've made because I'm ashamed of it, unless it's like crazy bad. But I like all of the posts I've made, at some point I liked them, so why would I delete them now? Doesn't make sense. And I don't want to lose that part of history that I've had for myself.
I love that thought process. And I appreciate that I usually say the people who succeed the most on a social platform are one of two, right? Either someone who goes completely raw and transparent and lets everybody into almost every step of the way. I think that's very endearing to a lot of people. And the other side is the supremely polished, controlling every nuance. I feel like you're somewhere in the middle. I feel like you're very open, right, to sharing. Like you said, you would never consider deleting a post now. It all shows your progression and earmarks certain places in time. But your artwork is also so polished and so high level at this stage that yeah, it's somewhere in the middle. Best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's honestly, as I say in my work, it's all about balance, color, and emotion. So this balance is probably a sign.
Oh, I like that. Balance, color, and emotion.
Yeah, that's my motto. And it took me a while to find it, but it pretty much resumes and encompasses my work as a whole, I think.
Balance, color, and emotion.
Yeah.
Aeforia. Perfect. Yeah. Perfection.
The tagline.
The tagline, indeed. Yeah. Indeed. So take me through, okay, so 2014, you know, your life changes forever. You stumble across the first app that leads to a slew of other apps. You start creating, you start sharing.
Yeah.
Bridge the gap between then and now. Well, not then and now, then and your first tokenized work, which is a moment that I'd like to get to. But between those two moments, right? 2014 until my video.
Where are you, man?
What? And yeah, my Zoom. Zoom. All right, I'll deal with you later. Sorry about that. All right.
No worries.
So take it from 2014 until your first tokenized work, and give me a marker or two or three, whatever strikes you as to a leap forward, something that you're proud of.
Just in general, in my like between that first moment and my first tokenized piece.
Yes. Yeah. Now that you are creating, now that you are posting, a moment that you said, maybe it could be a moment, I'm really proud of what I did there. Maybe it could be a moment I distinctly learned a new skill set or type of craft there. You know, a formative moment somewhere along the way.
That's such a good question. Oh gosh, I feel like a formative moment. Well, what can I say? Because you know how it's kind of crazy to me. I have a somewhat good memory, but sometimes, especially the past few years, they're all kind of blurred out. And because I feel like I've been so much into this that I kind of have a hard time being like, yes, this event. But at the top of my head, let me just actually, you know what? I'll go through my Instagram feed. Yeah. Because it's my time capsule. So maybe that can trigger something. Because I know I have a lot of things that happened in the past, but it's always so hard to. Well, yeah, I've got a good one, I think. I think my first important moment in my progression was the Wary series.
Okay.
This is a series that I consider to be like the starting point of what people might consider a piece of art to be Aeforia's work. This series was made in the summer of 2017, and I always say that this period of time, that summer was the pivotal, is it how you pronounce? Pivotal point in my career, because this is the moment where I started like being more serious about 3D. I remember I was working 40 hours a week as a junior graphic designer. I was waking up at 6:30 in the morning, having breakfast, driving to work. Took me sometimes an hour or so to get there because of traffic. I would get there, I was tired, I was working all day. Great, I learned a lot, but of course this was not my jam, you know? So it was kind of hard sometimes to be motivated by that. But shout out to them because I learned a lot from that company. I would come back home, have dinner with my parents, and just go upstairs on my MacBook and do renders until 2 a.m. and then rinse and repeat.
And were you just thinking about that all day long? I
was thinking about that all day long. I would go back home and work on my pieces. That summer was one of the most productive ones ever. I've released a lot of work, and I don't know, it was hard because I was rendering on a MacBook Pro using the most basic tools in Cinema 4D to create these artworks. And as the title says, wary. I was just wary of it all, but I knew that I had to do it. It was calling me or something. I felt this urge to create, and it was beyond anything. It was more powerful than my lack of sleep or whatever. And so this series kind of embodies this whole vibe, this whole feeling that I had back then. And it's a series that's really simple. 3 characters, a very abstract shape, and some spheres, you know, like the classic spheres that became a trademark in my work. And I was really inspired by 2 of my favorite artists doing this series, Rick Oostenborg, I might be butchering the name here, and Soluter, so Patrick Sluter. Great guys, really inspiring work. And so from that point, it kind of kicked things off. I just started doing these characters, and my work started like gaining a lot of attention, more than I could ever imagine. So I think that's one huge chunk of my artistic process as a whole.
That's perfect. So legendary summer of 2017.
Yeah, it was madness. Adobe shared my work, Ebduzito, Fubiz, all these big platforms that helped me gain some more visibility in the space.
Yeah.
I was so grateful for that. So honestly, that's like the biggest one for sure. And then you said you wanted me to name 3 of them, right?
Oh, one to 3. Anything that stands out to you.
Oh, perfect.
Maybe let's go one more. Somewhere between summer of 2017 and your first tokenized work.
Okay, good one. Let's see. I'm scrolling.
Yeah. This is beautiful because I always find it fun to do this because there are certain things that, let's say, stand out to my eye or to a collector's eye or to a fan's eye, but to step into your mind and really see what's meaningful to you in terms of what leaped you forward, it's just another angle.
Yeah, that's for sure. And this is, of course, like very personal to me.
Yes.
But honestly, I feel like there's no like single event after that. It's just like a myriad of anything. But all I would like to say is that I'm grateful for the collaborations I've made, because I'm looking at my feed right now. I'm not just, it might be weird for the viewer right now, but I'm actually just scrolling back on my feed, and all I can see are those collaborations. I see one with Fvckrender, my first one, and it brings me back to a certain time where I was still learning so much about this whole field, and that I had like Fred, who was like already killing it with the client work and his work as a whole, and he was like this kind of big inspiration for me, kind of a mentor. He was living in Montreal back then. I would often go to his apartment, and we would just like work on our stuff and just chat together. So that brings me to a good time, and I feel like it highlights how collaboration as a whole has such a huge impact in my life. So that would be like the second chunk. And after that, I mean, it's all a series of very small events, small or big, that like that help build the way to where we are now.
I love that you chose to highlight collaborations, because that was definitely on my mind today, being that an origin story that came very close to this one, Gavin Shapiro's. He highlighted a collaboration with you.
Yeah.
So that's another one, right? And then you mentioned Fred's, you mentioned Fvckrenders.
Yeah.
And then who else? Just give some collaborative shout outs.
Oh, all right. There's a ton. Another name I can think of is Malavida. Alicia is one of my closest friends. She's like my confidant. We always, like if I have a more personal question is like the first person I message to get like a second opinion.
Yeah.
But there's also Dorian, like a great abstract artist that I've collaborated with for like 8 times already.
Wow.
It's crazy. He's a French guy. Then I see collaborations with Stein Orleans, an artist who's in the crypto art space right now. Ketelu, also an artist that recently made his first sale on SuperRare, great buddy of mine. I see Skiva, I see Daniel Taylor. There's so many, like I see Victor Mosquera, of course.
Good one. Good one.
Yeah, that was awesome. This is when I first learned about him and we quickly became friends. This collaboration really stands out from the rest. It's called Abducted. Was so fun working with him. And then more recently, I could name Auguste Le Fou, another French artist who's just crazy. His style is very close to mine, but he's more like, I'm more like towards the light side and he's more towards the dark side. But it's really fun to have this duality, you know? And then you have people like, let's see. Oh, he's a Russian artist. His name is Pokras Lampas. I think that's how you pronounce it. This guy does calligraphy, and it's just mind-blowing. Huge artist, and I had the chance to collaborate with him. As I'm scrolling through, I just saw that Mark Renders. You see the list keeps on. It's just
a long collaborative list. I can already see it when this interview is shared out. I'm gonna have the longest mentions list. And it might be split into several different posts.
I'm sorry for you, man, already, but I have 10 more names, but I mean, shout out to all of them because we have some other stuff to discuss, I imagine. So, but as you can see, for me, collaboration has been such a huge deal for me, and I've learned so much from all of these people. Really awesome artists and human beings as well.
And that makes a lot of sense to me too. Going back to what I highlighted earlier, your entire social persona, just very collaborative, very supportive, very positive. So it strikes me as very fitting that you've had so many positive collaborations over the years.
Yeah, grateful for that.
Yeah. So let's take it then, the dramatic flourish, the moment I love to arrive at. What inspires you to tokenize your first work, and what was it?
Honestly, was just, at first it was sheer curiosity. I remember, well, shout out again to Gavin Shapiro, because he's the guy who like let me know that SuperRare was a thing in Nifty Gateway. I remember I was just talking to him and he was like, yeah, I'm going to post on this platform and this platform. You should check this out. And I was really intrigued, you know? So I just kind of dived in without really knowing what it was. I was just looking at it, and I saw the opportunity of like selling my work like any traditional artist could do. And that was a huge appeal for me. I was kind of mind blown that this was a thing right now and that it was working well, because I was seeing people selling for very good prices that to me were like they were like those prices would be representative of the quality of the work, because you could never really do that before. sell a piece of digital art for thousands of dollars. That's just crazy to me. And so I just dived in, took a leap of faith, and tokenized Nublado. Most stressful experience of my life. It was so stressful because before I even posted it, before I even tokenized it, I had a DM from a person I didn't know who turned out to be my collector, Fafafofo.
Yes. He's a
And
legend.
yeah, real legend. And I was told by some other people that he was a serious collector, and so he placed the first bid of 8 Ethereums, and to me that was mind blowing. I just screamed out loud, and I just leaned back on my chair and I was like, what is going on, you know? And I think I accepted it like within the hour, because I thought he's gonna remove it. Like it's I gotta take it, you know, while it's still there. Maybe someone else would have come in, but I was glad to be in this person's collection. So yeah, that was a great first experience of selling like a single edition like that. That was just crazy.
What a strong first moment, right?
Yeah.
A strong first moment where you said you were exploring and Gavin had let you know that it was a thing, and you know, you have Nublado and you come into SuperRare, and then bam, someone that you're told is a top collector comes in immediately with 80. That's a good moment.
Yeah, that was I think this had a huge impact on what happened next for me in this space. Like having a collector like him support my work that way at the very first start can really help a lot to bring attention and show that, like, okay, well, you know, it's serious, you know? So I'm eternally grateful to him for like believing in my work in the first place and being the first to collect it. But Goltra also placed a bit before him, and I didn't notice because I was so like stressed and confused. But after that, when I realized it was Goltra, I was also really honored because I have a lot of respect for that collector. He also owns one of my pieces.
I was going to say he did acquire a later Aeforia.
Yeah, I had a great discussion with him. Really knowledgeable guy. So shout out to him. And yeah, really grateful to have these guys, you know, just supporting my work on the very first occasion.
So very soon after Nublado, you decide to jump over to Nifty Gateway as well and expand your presence from SuperRare. What goes into that decision? Had you been scouting the platforms where you reached out to? How'd that go down?
To me, it was like when I first started, what I was told was that, well, SuperRare is a great place for editions of one, and Nifty is a great place to have like more diverse setups for selling your work. So in the first place, I was really appealed by how Nifty handled the drop format. And I like the idea of releasing a series, because I don't see myself releasing a whole series on SuperRare because it would feel kind of overwhelming having like, I don't know, like 3 to 4 pieces that are like cluttering my SuperRare feed. Well, it's not a bad thing, of course, but to me, it made much more sense to think of like a drop format that would let me share this series without compromising my SuperRare feed, which was really still like small at the time. I had like 3 pieces minted. So honestly, I was just so interested by the whole scene that I just applied to both, really, without really knowing what was gonna happen. But I was lucky enough to be accepted on both and get on a call with Tommy and Zach, and both helped me a lot to just set things up. And yeah, so for Nifty, I released my Facade series, which is kind of like one of my one of the series I like the most out of them all, and it was such a great experience.
From that moment forward, that is when I personally discovered your work. And from that moment forward, I always thought of you as just, to double down on the word, thoughtful, right? Looking at that series. So it was, you know, you had an open edition of Underneath, you had an edition of 15 Reveal, an edition of 5 facade, and then your 1 of 1 auction piece intricacy. Yeah. And they all play off of one another. It all appears very much as though they are part of the same series, of course, building up to the 1 of 1, which is also animated, to the others that are various forms of stills. And just seeing those pieces side by side, it's stuck in my head. You know, Aeforia is extremely thoughtful about what he's doing. It all plays into one another. And so, yeah, that puts you on the map in my world.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was, I was talking with Tommy, and the contenders were Facade and that Wary series. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately was Tommy's like gut feeling to just go with this one, because I would be satisfied with both. But it turned out to be a great idea, especially for a first draw, because I was still like new in the space and I didn't know what could really work. So I made this 4th installment, Intricacy, which is like the 4th piece that never really existed before. And I made it just for that draw because I felt like it was such a big event for me that I could create this like new piece that would bring a deeper level to the whole series, because it was animated. It had a soundtrack as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a very great experience overall. I loved it, and I'm glad that you say that it seemed thoughtful for you.
And what I found so fascinating, because I started tracking NFTs really, really closely prior to that, but that was still early on in my own process. Yeah. And what I found so fascinating about that series is it's a series that I always had bookmarked in my own mind, and I feel like it was a slow burn to the point to the point where today, right, it has made a leap. Like I've seen it make a literal leap forward. It's like this growing appreciation for you and for your work. So obviously the work sold out extremely fast, right?
Yeah.
Sold out extremely fast. It did very, very well. And then I thought of it as a sleeping giant in the secondary market that sort of, you know, hit a timeout, and it was there. And then we also have a funny story where I reached out to him, and I was very frustrated that I had this thought in my mind, and I tried to get too cute on the secondary market, and it didn't work out well. But that, of course, is because everyone woke up all at once. And then again, it made the much deserved leap forward.
Yeah, and recently it just kept increasing for some reason, and I'm grateful for that, because these were at a very good price when you think about it. Like $99 for an open, 43 mints. That's not a lot, and now they're gaining value. So I'm really happy for all the people that, you know, like took the risk to buy it and hold it for so long. You know,
absolutely. And it's all, and now I don't even know where it is, but it's off in the stratosphere somewhere.
Yeah, it's just great.
Yes, absolutely. And so going back to SuperRare, so you have the drop on Nifty. Now, does that drop occur when you just had Nublado on SuperRare, or had you released your second at that time? Sometimes when SuperRare terms it, you know, it's X months ago, so it's hard for me to pinpoint the exact date.
Yeah. November 23rd. I think, let me just verify, because we're just doing it right now.
Yeah.
I think it was at the time that I released Ivy. I'll just verify the transaction to where I accepted it. That was October 24th. And then, okay, so I think that maybe when I minted Instinct. So, okay, so the last piece I minted before the Nifty drop was Instinct. It was released on November 2nd, 2020. And I kind of waited until my drop to release something else after, because I didn't want to, like, I'm not here to, it's not like, this whole thing is not a money grab for me. I want to release work that has value. I want to release work that is close to me. Because I remember when I first started, I was looking at my body of work, and I was like, wow, well, I've got what, 100 artworks, so I'm all set, you know. But nah, it's not like that. I quickly realized that it's a long-term thing to, like, it has to be long-term. You have to think about the pieces that you put out. It has to have a meaning, you know. You cannot just drop anything you want just like that, because to me it just dilutes your value. So I was always careful to when I release stuff. So I waited for a good while before releasing another piece on SuperRare because I had this drop coming up on Nifty, and then I posted a new one after that. So that's how it went. I had 4 pieces on SuperRare, one that was still unsold, Instinct, and I had this drop right after.
And Instinct lately has picked up another quite a large collector.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. Did not expect that, of course. No backdoor deals or whatever. That person just bought it at list price. The list price I put months ago. And I don't know, this kind of teach me a lesson that patience pays off.
Yes.
I remember I had good offers from a very well-known collector, Sir Nigel. It was like 5 ETH. I think at the time it was $2,000, which is still like it's a big amount of money, you know. Like turning that down feels like incredibly stressful. But I don't know. I didn't want to like lower the value for my previous collectors, and I felt like this piece was so close to me that it deserved probably a bit more. So I just waited, but after 3 months there was nothing. So I was kind of like, oh well, I'll just see. And then one day, boom, it was sold. Yeah,
that's how it goes. And you know, I love to hear that too. And advice that I'll give certain artists, if of course you're in a position to do so, is on SuperRare in particular. You know, I think each site has its own, each platform has its own set of unique mechanics. I, as a collector, right, and someone who appreciates that side of things, I never think of an artist poorly for having an unsold piece on SuperRare, right? I think it's a completely different story. You know, Nifty's known for quick sellouts. SuperRare, I think, plays into what you just said, and that is patience. And so I appreciate that you're thinking of it that way, and in this case, that patience very clearly paid off for you.
Yeah, and to bounce off what you said, to any artist who is listening to this, if you get an offer that could help you in your life to pay rent, pay food, or whatever, don't stress it out too much and take it. If it satisfies you, go for it. That offer was satisfying to me, but I could let myself wait some more just to see if there was something that was more appropriate to keep my floor, you know. But that too, if I was in a situation where that $2,000 could have helped me pay rent, I would have taken it. And I don't want people to like turn down money that could be tremendously helpful just for the sake of, like, you know, just for the sake of waiting and for a better offer. So that's super important. But if you can hold on it, do it, because it's worth it. If I accepted it back then, well, it would have been great, but not as great as what happened in the past few weeks.
Yes. And yeah, always the caveat, and I appreciate that so much. It all depends on the position that you're in, right? But if you do happen to find yourself in a position where you can exhibit a little extra patience, it often works out for a net positive.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, so moving on, I mean, you know, looking at your SuperRare page and you look at your collectors list, you know, we can then move right down the line to Illustrator on Ethos.
Oh, yes. I gotta shout out Tim. He's like, I cannot fathom how sweet and genuine this guy is. Like, to be honest, it's crazy. This is another story of patience pays off. Ethos was shared late December. I put a reserve price on it, but you know, like, everyone knows that in December Ethereum just started climbing up like crazy. And I was looking at my reserve and I was like, oh man, this is never going to sell now that it's so up. And I don't know, I was like, is it bad if I remove a reserve? Does it look like I'm desperate to sell it or whatever? I was asking myself these questions, of course, as anyone would do. So at one point, I just decided to remove it because I was like, you know, I would rather have like smaller offers that lead up to something bigger and get more attention on the piece than just waiting for a reserve to be hit. And it was a beefy reserve. It was probably not the best choice I've made back then. But then, well, it was 8 ETH. That was my reserve. It was not that much above my highest selling price. Yeah, but it was a video with custom sound, so I felt like it was worth something to me.
It really is. It really is a standout.
Thank you, appreciate it. And so I just removed my reserve, and 3 days after, I wake up to to a message of Justin Graphics, you know, like a 16-year-old guy, really supportive person. I like him, and he messaged me, and he's like, "Dude," he just says that. I'm like, just woke up. I open my Twitter and I see that, and I see a screenshot of an offer of 7.77 ETH from no other than Illestrater.
Illustrator's favorite number, I believe, is 7.
Yeah. I was blown away. I woke up like rapidly. I usually I take some time to wake up in the morning, but that morning I couldn't help myself but stand up and start like just not panicking, but not understanding what's happening. Yeah, because it was so close to what I had in mind like a month before, but ETH was not at the same price, and to me it was such a huge deal, you know. Such a great collector who's offering such a great price for a piece that was there for a long time. I felt blessed, and I had the best conversation ever when after I accepted his offer, he was telling me how to him he was connecting to the piece because, you know, he was an early adopter of crypto currency, and he was like, yeah, I feel like I see myself in that piece in the way that kind of like the character, I had this third eye that I had this vision of like, this could be big, you know, and it happened to be big. And I think he made a great decision back then to invest in the cryptocurrency, Ethereum, Bitcoin. So like having this chance to talk with him and realizing how genuine he is, he cares about the art, like he really cares. It's not like, you see that he's not in here to flip quickly. He has to feel something. He wants to relate with the pieces he buys and collects, and that shows. So that was my shout out to Tim, because it was such a pleasure to be in his collection, honestly. And yeah, great guy.
Yes. Absolutely agree. Shout out to Illustrator, to Tim. And then let's go from there, and let's go to your final work, since we're on SuperRare, of course. Sure. Let's go to your latest work on SuperRare, which is still unsold. So, you know, shout out to Solo and collectors out there, get on it. You have some work to do.
Oh, this has been quite interesting. Like there are so many different people who placed an offer on this one. Like I look at the list and it goes on, and right now I think there's kind of well, it's not a bidding war, but there's this collector called Jonathan that came back in with a new offer. So for now I don't know what to do. Like I would like to accept it, but I also feel like it's gathering attention right now, so I might as well just see if other people are interested in that piece. So patience again. I'll just wait it out. As you usually do. So this is a great piece to me. It's different from the characters, you know. It's reminiscent of my older work, actually, where I was doing these photo montages of landscapes. It was kind of a nod to what I was doing before, but with that modern twist of mine. So to me, that's a really, like, all the pieces that are on SuperRare are really close to me. So this one is obviously super important in my portfolio.
Yeah, and I like that you highlighted its difference, because if you scroll through your SuperRare, you know, it still looks tied to you via certain, you know, some of the color choices, right? But completely different in that there is a very far away silhouetted character, as opposed to one of your characters that are much closer to the frame. And so very much landscape centric, you know, this beautiful setting with clouds in the distance, a bit of what would you call it? Would you call it a portal or a gateway or a door, or how would you frame that?
I would see that as like probably just a guide, kind of like imagine you're in the distance and you see this in the like. I kind of your video just turned up. You see how the hills are progressively getting from darker to lighter.
Yes.
It's to me it suggested that this character came from maybe a darker past. Like it came from a more difficult. It was a difficult journey, and then they were following this portal, this light, this mystic shape or whatever you can call it. And this person is also alone, so it's really about the idea of journey. And as I'm not like solitary, but I spend a lot of time alone with my thoughts, with my work. So it could be me in that piece, but it could be you, it could be anyone. I always try to make it universal so anyone can relate, but to me that's what it's about.
I do feel it's a relatable piece. I mean, it is. It very much has a journey to it.
Yeah.
It feels epic, right? It feels. Yeah. I think it's interesting. Who knows what direction the viewer or the collector or the observer would. I'm not sure that everyone would look at it as a front to back, as a walking toward that portal or gate. I could see a right to left or a left to right, or it does leave a lot of room for interpretation. I think that's what's so beautiful about it.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
And one other random thought, and of course, you're now part of the Origin Story family, and that will never change. And someone else, another artist who was on Origin Stories, Nate Hill, he does his his landscapes. Almost, it's weird now. I start to see everyone who's been on Origin Stories together with myself and Parrott, of course. It's like this amalgam. Sometimes I'll see this vision where one artist's art is combining with another artist's art. I almost could see a Nate Hill landscape become infused in this solo piece.
Yeah, I actually collaborated with Nate back in the days. I gave him one of my pictures I took in Iceland, and he did a twisted landscape with it. Nate and I, it goes back. I think I've started following his stuff in 2014 or 15. It's one of the first few people I've interacted with, and he's been a big supporter of mine also over the years. As I also saw in the interview you guys made together. So shout out to him, it was much appreciated. And yeah, I have a long list of collabs that I have to work on, but Nate is also included in that list.
That's great.
Maybe in the next few months, maybe in the next years to come, I have to do another one with him. That's on my list.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. So let's go over to a platform that we have not discussed yet. And you did mention the name earlier, and that's Malavida. And let's go over to MakersPlace, because you have two very special artworks between the two of you, and I'd love for you to talk about those.
Yeah, well, you also placed an offer on them, and appreciate that. The first offers, right, on both?
The first, I wanted to make sure when you released them, when you announced them, my appreciation for Aeforia was growing. That was my gateway into an appreciation for Malavida as well.
Yeah.
And I just saw both, and they were just so perfect. And I knew, that the internal reserves, or whatever you want to call it, there wasn't like a visible reserve, but I knew that those first bids were probably not going to get the job done. But nevertheless, I wanted to put them in there because they meant a lot. Those artworks meant a lot.
That's awesome, and we both appreciate that so much. Of course, honestly, like, I'm not looking down on any offer, because they all help build the attention that the pieces need to finally sell. So those first two offers were a blessing to both of us. And yeah, those are probably our like favorite collaborations we've made together. Alicia and I are very close, and we've been friends for about 3 years or so. And yeah, so essentially it's called Solace. Sorry, pardon my French, my English here, but Solace. Solace. Cool. I learned that today. So Solace and Sorrow. The initial piece that was released was Solace. Essentially, we wanted to experiment with like a more colorful and kind of, we wanted to add this vintage vibe to it, you know, with the texturing, the you know, like it's only blue and yellow, with like black to add contrast. But we really wanted to work on a piece that could evoke this sense of serenity and calm. That's why it's called Solace. And I feel we can really perceive it through the character, or just the colors, the little bubbles that are really a trademark of Alicia's work. All the texturing work she did on this was beyond awesome. And so we wanted to release a, like, we wanted to release a collab together in the crypto art space. And it just made sense to us that we would pick this one, you know. But we had this idea of like creating its counterpart. A counterpart that is more troubled, more like energetic, not chaotic, but it's not chaotic, but more energetic. You could almost feel a sense of like turmoil while looking at that piece, which is called Sorrow. So it's like the counterpart of Solace. They are a diptych.
Yes.
Yeah. Diptych that really explores this idea of duality of emotions. So yeah, we worked on that piece, and we wanted to release it on the first anniversary of Solace. So everything comes full circle. We dropped this piece on MakersPlace because it was the only platform that could let us have both our names on both pieces.
Yes.
You cannot do that on SuperRare yet. I'm not sure about known origin, but we could do it on MakersPlace. Alicia was not on SuperRare at that time, so it was like the most logical decision to make. Like, release on that platform. We had tremendous help from the people from MakersPlace. They helped us a lot setting up this drop. So really grateful for them. And yeah, super proud of this work. It's still out there, you know, we're still waiting. But Tim, Illestrater, made a really great offer on Solace, and it meant a lot to us. But we're still playing the patience game here. Eventually, I'm confident that it will find the right collector and the right offer. But yeah, those pieces are really close to both Alicia and I. That's for sure.
They're beautiful artworks, and there's a lot of emotion that's captured. Let me go two ways. Color. So number one, on Solace almost has a subtle Silver Surfer vibe to it.
Yeah.
You know, the blue and yellow, and it has almost like a galactic feel to the background, right? So that's interesting. And then flipping over to Sorrow, that face captures so much emotion. There's like a subtle frustration, or like a subtle anger to it. That doesn't overwhelm it at all. But if you really just look at the face for a while, it does come through. So I like the diptych. It really seems to work.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it was like a small detail because that was on my part. You know, like I did this character, and I felt like it was a nice touch to just add a bit of emotion. Usually my characters don't really have a particular emotion. But this one I wanted to add like something that you could feel. Like, it's not too obvious, as you say, but it's still there, and it creates for a nice contrast between this face and the other one, which is ultra relaxed and peaceful.
Interesting too, because I saw Solace first, right? But then after I saw them both, I thought in my own mind, well, if my bids do progress, and maybe at some future date I'm lucky enough to collect, I said it can't just be Solace, right? It has to be the diptych. Like, that's at least the thought that's stuck in my mind.
Yeah, well, if I was a collector, I would also probably see that appeal, because they both go hand in hand, and we took quite some time to make sure that Sorrow was, you know, like, we were so proud of what we did with Solace that we wanted to like keep the bar at the same level. So we put a lot of thought and effort in that second piece. It wasn't just like, oh, we did that because you know, it's been a year. It was really thoughtful, and we wanted to make something that was equal. So having both, to me, would make the most sense. Having those two different expressions. They make for a great duo, that's for sure.
It's almost like siblings. You can't separate the siblings.
Yeah, right. we call them our children.
Well, see, there you go. We're not breaking up any households.
Exactly.
All right. So I want to jump over and you referenced it earlier with your dad. Let's talk about his Nifty collection. Let's talk about your Nifty collection. It's actually something I've started to do quite recently. I'm fascinated with this concept of artists who are interested in and becoming collectors themselves.
Yeah.
All the credit to the Whiskey Roundtable live stream that we had a few weeks back, and that was of course with Billelis, Etyoung, Eric, and Parrott as well. And the four of us were talking, and it was Eric and Bill, credit to them, who had referenced, as artists grow and do well, there's an opportunity for artists to eventually become the biggest quote unquote whales in the collecting game. Yeah,
absolutely. I feel like, to me, like, okay, well, first off, I cannot expect anyone to collect, because it's quite expensive, like you have to be thoughtful about your purchases. When we speak about a $500 NFT, that $500 can pay rent for most people. We gotta be conscious about what we say here, but as an artist who I'm privileged enough to have made some good sales, both on Nifty and SuperRare, I feel like it's the least I can do is start like investing in other artists that I like, maybe my close friends or some people that I am not too familiar with. We can go back to that later. But to me, it's a sign. If I see some artists investing in the space, to me, it's a sign that they believe in it, that they believe in it enough to, take a risk and invest, because it can be a risk to invest in a piece of art, because you never know what's going to happen. So if you see an artist that also collects, to me, that's a sign that they're truly understanding of what it's all about and what the potential could be for the space in the future.
Absolutely.
That's my vision of it. So that's why I started collecting. Started with collecting on Nifty because it was more accessible. But I recently purchased my first edition of one on SuperRare.
Oh, really? I did not know this. I was so stuck on your Nifty Gateway portfolio. So yeah, what was your most recent one of one?
Well, it's my first and most recent one-on-one. It's by an artist called Cornel. It's a visual that's part of his Oligarch series. It's like a short film that he did. This guy's been doing visual arts for, I think, since 2003. I'm reading as I'm speaking right now. So this guy's like a veteran. He's been there for a while. In 2003, I was probably eating sand. So you get the idea, right? So I was really interested in that guy's work, and I randomly found, well, I've been following him for a while on Instagram, but I found out that he was doing some NFTs on SuperRare, and I noticed that not a lot of his work was sold. So I sent a message to my friend toomuchlag, Stefan.
Yes.
And I was like, look at this, like this guy, it's a gold mine. Like it's high quality work and it's unsold. The guy's just starting out, and I was still debating on whether or not I should buy an NFT, but Stefan is more like direct with his decision, so he just bought one of his pieces, and I was like, oh my god, okay, that's so cool. And he shared about it, and the next day all the pieces had offers on them.
Wow.
So, well, not too long after I posted, I made an offer on the Reformer, which is a piece that I collected, 0.3 Ethereums. And then not too long after, I got outbid by someone at 0.4. So I was like, nah, I'm not playing this game. I put a whole Ethereum on the piece, and Cornel accepted it. I was super glad. So that was so great, and the guy is really genuine. He has family and children, and so to me, to support a person like that means the world. And I hope that it brought attention to his work. And right now I think that all of his stuff has offers on it, maybe except for the new one, but
Yeah. Yep.
you know, it's been 3 days only, so I'm not too scared for him.
I'm there now too, and yeah, you're right. It looks like between you and Toomuchlag, a lot of attention has been brought.
Yeah,
there's no turning back now.
Yeah, it's great. So really happy for that. I mean, it's a big offer that I've made, but I'm glad that I was able to invest and get one of the Cornel artworks.
Yeah, no question.
No regrets on that.
Yep. And then flipping back over to your Nifty Gateway, you have quite a collection that's building up. You have.
Thank you.
Was your first purchase was Billelis? Is that right?
No, actually, it's because I think when, well, actually, oh yeah, I some pieces of mine sold. All right.
Are you just learning this now?
Well, I realize it. Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. The first piece that I bought was, I think, a repressed by Fvckrender. Because recently they've got numbered, and so it kind of went back up.
Right.
In the list.
I have seen. Yep. I have seen Nifty pages rearranged. That's true.
Yeah. So my first purchase was, of course, a repressed by Fvckrender.
Good purchase. A wonderful piece of art, and more recently, of course, it has vaulted through the stratosphere.
Yeah. Right. It's crazy. I'm gonna hold on this one for a long time. Not gonna sell it to that price. To me, it has a lot of sentimental value. And I believe in Fred's work, so I'm gonna wait on this one, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm trying to like build a collection whenever I can. And right now it's mostly like my close friends, because it makes it easier for me to invest in them because I know what they're up to. I know what they're working on. So to me, it's like, I don't even think about it. I just click buy because I know what they're doing and what they want to achieve. It's a no-brainer, really.
And you were lucky and talented and skilled and fast enough to collect a very interesting artwork. We are close neighbors in the Fvckrender universe when it comes to Destruct, which was a 10 edition artwork that was hidden in, or at least the key to get it was hidden within his universe.
Yeah, that was, you know how Fred markets his game as like a relaxing game? That's bullshit, you know? I was so stressed when I opened the game trying to find a scorpion. That was so intense. I was shaking like that. I've been close to the process of the Fvckrenderverse, but I was not like, I didn't know like where the scorpion was. I think when he showed me the game, it was like V2 and it had 3 pieces in place. It was like the main one and like 2 other ones. And it was, I think it changed since then. So coming into the Fvckrenderverse, I had no idea where it was. And I found it quite quickly because my reflex was to go on the border near the water and just move around. You know, my goal with my plan was to just go around the edges of the world, of the map. And because to me, if it's hidden, it's going to be hidden like somewhere further away. And I found it. But the first time I found it, it was like full screen. And my reflex was to click escape to take a screenshot, but I shut the game. And at this point, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I lost my chance. So of course, shaking, my hands were shaking much more at that point. I went back into the game. I tried to find it again, and then I took a photo with my iPhone and I sent an email to Tommy with like a random email address I have, and I just wrote in the subject line, I wrote, oh yeah, that's it. I just wrote no message, nothing. Maybe he knew that it was me because it said Alexi, but I was so stressed to just send it right away. So it was like the longest 20 minutes of my life waiting to see if I was one of the first 10. And then Fred messaged me personally and he said, "You got it, man." And I was so happy, like so happy. This piece was one of my favorites out of the bunch. Turned out to be one of the free NFTs.
Yeah.
So I was really honored to get one of those. Yeah, and glad that we're neighbors.
Yes.
On this one. It's really cool. Such a great piece and such a great idea. Great way to like give out just like that, you know, was perfect.
You know, the story, so to match yours that I'll share, it's a lot less stressful, but more of a facepalm moment. I was messaging Fred at the time, wishing him just a great day, and you know, this is your moment. And I'm literally writing this message, and I was like staring off into space, and I come back to the computer and I click over to the Twitter feed, and oh, by the way, 10 minutes ago the game was released, and
Oh, Jesus.
So this is my face, but I managed to find it on the secondary market. So
yeah,
it all works out.
For a good price. I feel like this piece is gonna be worth a lot more once the Fvckrender verse just keeps progressing and keeps getting bigger. Because Fred has bigger plans for this. This is not the end, of course.
But Aeforia, Alexi, let's get back to you, my friend. Let's get back to you, and I want to play a game.
All right.
Are you ready for the game? The game is the lightning round.
Oh, yeah.
All right. There's absolutely no pressure whatsoever. I know sometimes pressure can be felt, but really it's just say what comes to mind and keep flowing with it. And if anything gives you pause and you want to go off on a tangent, you're more than welcome to do that too.
Sure.
Okay, here we go. 10 topics. Yeah. Topic number 1, which we'll get to a little bit more later after the lightning round, because we still have to talk about your current drop. But question number 1, long-winded preference. Question number 1, what is your biggest fear?
Disappointing people.
Disappointing people.
Yeah.
Number 2, favorite piece of art that is not your own?
As an NFT?
Let's stick with NFTs.
Oh geez. I wish I could own, oh, this is so hard, man, but I'll just go with the flow, and I wish that someday I can own one of Malavida's single editions, because right now they're selling for crazy, and I know that it's out of my reach, but because she's a close friend, I feel like this would be such an honor. But you know, I could name 20 of them. It's just the first one that came to my mind.
Yep, perfect. Number 3, Nifty Gateway.
It's the platform for experiments, the platform for risks. It's the platform that will, to me, open up the gates for anyone to collect NFTs. So that's really how I see it. I don't want to be like a purist and say like I'm only about single editions, even though I understand that point and I respect that. To me, I want to diversify my work, and if I can help people get involved in the space and enter the space through my Nifty Gateway drops, mission accomplished on that.
Perfect. Number 4, SuperRare.
It's, to me, it's the more refined kind of platform. You got to be cautious about what you're doing there. The pieces I post there, there are clear standouts of my work, and they're not series. So SuperRare for me is for all of the strong single pieces that I've made in the past or that I will make in the future, compared to Nifty, where it's more about series. I want to drop a series on that platform. So smart
that you're thinking that, in my opinion, so smart that you're thinking that way and taking the time to consider the specificity of the platform and the strengths of the platform. I think that mindset will win out in the end.
Hope so.
Number 5, MakersPlace.
It's to me, it was a platform that helped me realize this vision I had with Alicia to release an artwork as a collaboration. Mm-hmm. I must say I'm not as familiar with MakersPlace as SuperRare, so SuperRare feels a bit more like home for me because I've been there since the start. But I see MakersPlace as a platform where you can also, like, it's kind of the in between of SuperRare and Nifty, where they have these really intricate drops,
Yeah.
but they still have the one out of ones. They have editions. They have it all. So to me, it can be an interesting platform to experiment, kind of either in a SuperRare way or in a Nifty Gateway way. If that makes sense.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Number 6, the concept that you have not yet tackled that you eventually want to explore.
That's the hardest question. My work always comes from inside. I would like to bring. I've always did like my work has always been very digital, and it's always a piece of art. It's out there, but I've been really inspired by what Fred did with like creating a universe for people to explore. Not saying that I want to do an Aeforia verse, but I feel like just the idea of exploring a new medium that could be a bit more interactive than just a still or an animation, to me is like the next big goal for me. But I don't know, I cannot put a timeline on this yet. I have so much to do before, but in the future, I want to make my work. I want my work to be experienced in other ways than just on the screen. Maybe AR or VR. Who knows? We'll see.
Interesting. I like it. And no timeline necessary. Just something that is out there in the horizon line, almost like you're almost like in the artwork Solo, somewhere out by the portal.
that big shape is that project. I'm close, but not yet.
That's perfect. Number 7. We talked a bit about this before, but let's just go with maybe a name that you have not mentioned yet. Number 7, dream collaboration.
Oh, wow.
Somewhere out by that portal.
I want to collaborate with, I would love to collaborate with Kathryn.
Good one.
She's like she's like an idol for me. I just love her so much and what she does. It almost feels, and that's just me probably being humble, but it feels like this is like the quality of her work is like what I strive to do with my own work. She has such an eye for like modeling and adding those intricate details that I can only strive to be as good as her in that particular aspect of it. So collaborating with her would be great. Of course, Billelis, that would be legendary to mix like the dark aesthetic with my more ethereal and fantastic universe, you know?
It could be another Solace and Sorrow kind of moment.
Yeah, right. So those two, of course. And I would also like to collaborate with musicians that I love, just in general. I'm not going to drop any names, but I listen to a lot of music. So if I'm able to collaborate with an artist that I love in the future, like really love from the bottom of my heart, that would be such a dream collaboration for me. Anyone that I just listen to every day, you know.
Number 8, what artwork of yours is being slept on right now? And doesn't have to be money wise. It just could be something that, and no, there are very few left. And so I have a biased answer, but what would you go with?
Well, right now, there's only Solo and the MakersPlace pieces that are still available. Right now, what makes the most sense to me is like that collaboration with Alicia, because Solo is gaining a lot of traction since 24 hours. So we're all set for this one for now.
Yes.
It gets the attention it deserves, but I feel like people are probably sleeping on those two pieces, considering how well Alicia's has been doing in the space already. She's been killing it with both her Nifty drop and her SuperRare pieces.
Yep, I agree with that. I think that just jumps out. Even if you had 10 other pieces that were unsold, that jumps out to me. And what I want to make clear to anyone who's listening to this is that if you miss the backstory and if you miss the announcement behind those pieces, you know, make sure that you understand that there are 2 of them, and one sits on Alexi's Aeforia's account and one sits on Malavida's account, and they very much are a beautiful diptych together. I want to make that point very, very clear. I think that is humongous. In fact, I had this wonderful post that I had been dreaming up, and the post was going to be entitled Sleeping Alpha or Hidden Alpha out there, right? And I had these pieces, and by the way, the post is completely shattered now because the pieces that I was going to put in this were as follows: Victor Mosquera Alma on Super.
Oh, yes, finally,
gone.
Finally, yeah.
Fvckrender Thorned on SuperRare.
Gone. Yeah.
Next, Aeforia and Malavida, Solace and Sorrow. So instead of putting the post together, I might as well just say it now. I think it is absolutely being slept on from my perspective, and I have no doubt that someone will find it very, very soon.
Means a lot, Roger. Really.
For sure. Number 9, give some shine to somebody else. What artist is being slept on right now and deserves more attention?
toomuchlag.
Good one.
Yeah.
Good. I found toomuchlag first for his concept of wrapping the Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Right. And I thought that was, and I was right on that when he did it. And I thought very, very creative to do so. And I think it's so funny to me that since then, you know, Bitcoin obviously jumped through the roof. And so that artwork occupies this unique place in my mind where it has a whole story to it, because he was really the first, I think the first person to,
I think so,
to do that in terms of an entire Bitcoin. I know
that's wild.
Primal Cypher had done recently the physical coin where you submitted, I think it was 0.1 or 0.01 maybe, so a fraction of a Bitcoin that gets loaded onto the coin itself. But yeah, toomuchlag, shout out. Very, very unique concept.
This guy, like, I feel like he's going to be one of the artists who is going to change the space. Probably more, I think, like a lot. It's gonna change. He's gonna change things a lot with the concept he's bringing to the table. This guy understands crypto. This guy understands how smart contracts work. I believe he has a roommate who also is a part of those projects. So shout out to both of them. And he's always thinking about how to manipulate contracts in a way that can present or create new stuff. You know, like, I don't know what he's really up to. It's still a mystery. But he's always trying to figure out how to push the limits of that aspect, which I feel like is really brilliant, because me as an artist, I create work that comes more like from, well, this stuff is also coming from emotions, but I don't really, you know, I've not really dived in like modifying smart contracts. You know, I'm mostly using the smart contracts to help me present my work, but he's trying to think how to change that to also change the way he presents his work. So to me, that's really powerful. Yeah. So shout out to this guy.
Yes. Can't wait to see what's next for him.
Yeah.
Also someone who's very supportive on social. So maybe maybe if we can align it, maybe a future origin story as well. Would love.
Oh, that would be so cool. Yeah. Yes. This guy has a lot of crazy stories. So
would love that.
Yeah.
Number 10. If you could instantly acquire any other artist's skill set to infuse with your own, and it's very much an easy chip insert, Matrix style, no pain, no pressure, who is it and why?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm actually looking at my saved posts on Instagram, because this is where I saved all the stuff I like. That's a tough one. Like, there are so many good people. I'm trying to figure out like who, because I feel like I would love to know more about the technicalities of 3D, and I'm trying to find the right person for that. So as I'm scrolling through, I'm trying to figure out. Well, you know what? I'll just say. Why does it have to be so hard?
Sorry, Alexi.
It's okay, man. I try my best here. I I would say that, well, let's just say this guy, Vincent Schwenk.
Okay.
3D artist who's really good with like soft bodies. He's also experimenting a lot with textures, materials, colors, lighting. All that stuff is always on point, always refined. I would love to pick his brain and implement some of his, like, some of the stuff that he's able to make and put it onto my work. And that's just like a name that came to me randomly because there are so many artists that I would love to just steal their brain and use it for my own. But as a whole, I would like to take like the brain of a person who can do like Houdini stuff. You know, the software is just madness, and it's so hard to learn that if I was able to just like cut the corners and get all the knowledge already,
insert the chip. There you go.
It would be fine. You know?
Perfect.
So yeah, that would be my answer.
I have 2 bonus questions for you. So I've started to do a bit of an exercise on the last few origin stories. I think I will continue this for quite some time. It's a bit of an artist passing a question to another artist on down from episode to episode.
Oh, wow.
And so, Alexi, you have been passed a question from Gavin Shapiro.
Oh, no.
And Gavin Shapiro, and by the way, he did it blind. He did not know it would be going to you.
Yeah.
It was just that he was kicking it down the line. And so his question to you is, what can you do to make this community better for others?
That's a good question. What can I do would be 2 things, honestly. 3 things. First off would be to be transparent about what the space is about. And so it means sharing resources to my audience, mostly on Instagram, about what NFTs are. Because I'm sharing about this quite often, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of people don't really know what it's about. Yeah. So that's first. Second, interact with the community. Comment on people's work if you feel like it and if you mean it. Encourage people. That, like, every comment that I receive on my posts is always like gratifying. It just helps me a lot. It brings so much joy, and so if I can do that to people, smaller or bigger artists, I'll do it, you know. And I try to do it. Of course, I'm not perfect, but to me, like, giving back just through the form of a like, a share, a tweet, a personal DM to just say that you like their project, that goes a long way. And finally, my goal eventually would be to collect more works from probably like upcoming artists in the space that I have a lot of confidence with, like, that I trust their work and I trust that they're going to grow over time. So that would be another mission of mine. Of course, right now I cannot just throw away all of my money to collect, because that would be kind of a risky decision to make for me. But slowly but surely, I want to, like I did with Cornel. I'm not saying like he's a new artist or whatever. He's been there for longer than I am, but in this space, he's brand new. And I thought that collecting one of his pieces could be a good way to push him like towards success, you know? So
absolutely. That was a very well thought out 3-tiered answer to a spur of the moment question. So I appreciate that greatly. And before I ask you what question you'd like to pass down the line, I actually had another artist who jumped in here and asked you a question. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, sure.
And this one was specifically to you.
Oh, really?
And it's coming from someone you know very well. His name is Fvckrender, and he asks, who is your favorite dad?
Oh, oh, no way. Come on. You know, for people out there who are not aware of this story, the longest running gag of all time is that Fvckrender is my dad. It's always been like this joke. I don't know why. It's probably because we used to hang out so much back then and post like pictures of ourselves and share our work, etc. So the joke is just that I'm the son and he's the father, and some people believed it, and they DM me saying stuff like, "Wow, I can't believe how good your father is. Like talent runs in the family," stuff like that. So hilarious. Um, I can, and there is my biological dad, of course. So I would say that it's kind of like an in-between answer for Fred, but my biological dad will always remain Mathieu, the guy who collects NFTs and stuff. But my art dad will remain forever Fvckrender. So I think this is a good way to settle the whole thing, you know?
Yeah, once
Art
and for all.
dad, biological dad.
Yes. And this will forever be a part of your origin story now.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what is your question? What question are you passing along to the next artist on?
What is a project or an idea or a concept that you're scared of working on and releasing to the whole world?
I love that question because it takes us right into what is imminent. And the date is Thursday, February 25th. It is Aeforia's drop on Nifty Gateway.
Yes.
What can you tell us? I mean, your trailers have been on point. Everything is looking sharp. We are a few days away. What can you tell us?
This is the most personal work I've released probably since forever. I don't feel like I've went that deep within myself to find inspiration. Of course, all my work has a bit of emotion in it. Like each piece has something to offer, but this series is something else in the way that for people who are not familiar with it yet, I've decided essentially to create a series around my internal fears. The series is called 5 Fears, and is the fear to disappoint the people who believe in me. It's the fear of making a mistake that I cannot change, that I have no control over. It's the fear of missing out on some opportunities and ending up being left behind. It's the fear of not really staying true to myself and ending up being dishonest about some things that I do. And lastly, is the fear of being vulnerable, which is kind of like the driving force behind the whole project, is to open myself to the world. Honestly, man, I was just so scared about the whole idea. I was chatting with toomuchlag, actually. We were just talking about how, because I was at the beginning of the year, was really taking a lot of time to browse on Twitter, on SuperRare, and I was seeing all of the great stuff that was happening, all of the achievements, all the money being thrown around and all that stuff. And no matter how strong you are regarding this, it can be hard not to be stressed about it and question your own place. And at the end of the day, you have those fears inside that make you self-doubt. And I've always tried to kind of ignore them. I'm an emotional person, I would say, but I've had this tendency to bottle up and to kind of I don't want people to feel the burden of what I'm feeling, so I just tend to push that aside. But this time I felt like I could really be honest for once and just show to the world what's lying underneath my facade. I'm using those words. It's kind of funny because it echoes back to the first drop, but it's kind of crazy how it goes full circle. The first series is more intricate, more mysterious. We wonder what's really under those characters, and now I'm revealing what's really under everything. And so yeah, it's been I spent almost 2 weeks just debating on whether or not I should do it. I spent a lot of time just writing my artist statement first before even sketching out stuff or making visuals. It was important for me that I had a solid message to come to give away to the people. And so yeah, it was a bit of a process. I've worked on this since the beginning of the year, and it's almost, well, at the time we're speaking, it's almost done, but by the time this is out, it's all published and ready to see to be seen. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but you have these characters that all evoke a certain fear. I've worked really hard on the poses, their emotion, the colors also, but also the sounds. You might see these in the background.
Yeah.
I spent like days just working on the sounds to give my characters a voice that can let them really properly evoke the emotion that they're supposed to evoke. And so this is why this is my most personal piece yet. The sounds are made by me, the visuals are made by me. I wrote my own words and I'm sharing them to the world. So this is why this is special to me. And I was scared, and we talked about it because you know, this is not like anything hype or where I'm not making memes or anything that can be considered as wild and exciting. But when I thought about it, I was like, well, maybe it can be good to bring a bit of truthfulness and honesty in a space like this. So many people are doing it already. I can think of Alicia with her drop that highlighted mental health.
Yes.
That was a super execution on a similar kind of topic, you know, like very personal. But yeah, that was my whole process, my thought process behind the whole drop, was to be honest and also hopefully start a discussion within the space. I hope that people will feel more confident to express what they're feeling. It doesn't have to be like about crypto art either. I tried to make it really universal, and also thanks to Victor, because he read my first version of the text, and I mentioned words like crypto art and stuff like that, and he said, dude, like he always say dude. He was like, dude, you don't have to talk about this. Like people, like everyone can relate to this, not just the crypto art space. Like as a human being, we all have those fears, and we probably all, not all, but most of us just tend to like hide them because it can be seen as a sign of weakness.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, it's also, it takes a lot of courage to speak up about that. And so he was like, try to make it more universal and don't mention that. And that advice was really crucial in the whole process. And I really had a big impact on my text, my statement. And I think that thanks to him, I was able to like not to focus too much on one particular space and just make it universal to the human experience as a whole. Yeah.
It makes sense. It's a concept that you're right, and he's right. It transcends crypto art, and even art itself. You know, it's this very human quality, and something I've appreciated in, you know, athletics, right? Athletics, certain athletes have started to speak out about anxiety and, you know, really break down those barriers. And I think within this art space, within the crypto art space, even though this is a concept that transcends it, but within the crypto art space, we're in such a unique moment in time where everything's moving so fast. It's growing so fast. And we talk all the time about this time warp of weeks or months being jammed into 24-hour periods.
It's crazy, yeah.
So speaking about things like mental health, like anxiety, like fears, breaking down those barriers, I really appreciate that empathy and acceptance that you're extending to anyone who is looking at your art. And, you know, I've told you I think you're taking a very positive risk here. And I also think that the greatest rewards come to those who take those positive sorts of risks. And I think in the long run, there's no question in my mind that this artistic sequence, this series that you are dropping on Thursday, will just be so highly regarded and well thought of.
I appreciate that, man. And when you told that to me, it was such a relief, because getting your point of view as a person who collects work was also something that I was fearful about, because first thing I thought when I like decided that I would do this is like, I said to myself, what collectors would think of this? Like, as an investor, as someone who believes in art, who wants to collect art, like what that person would think of me talking about weaknesses, and being honest about that. Are they gonna just back off and not be interested in the works anymore? That was kind of stressing me out a little bit. But at the same time, it's just, I've always wanted to be true to myself. I never made my biggest the biggest thing I worked on in my life was to make decisions for myself. It all pretty much started when I decided to do visual arts instead of sciences, and so I had this. It was deep inside this urge to create something about that. Like whatever idea I could have for this job, it was like worthless because I had this voice inside of me that was telling me, do it, like just do it.
Yes.
Take the risk, because it could be, I could be rewarded for it, not for the money, but for the response from people. Yes. I've shared it with a bunch of people, and I got so much positive feedback, and that was like, that got me really emotional, because I was like, wow, I can't believe that I properly conveyed it so they can be touched by it as well and relate to the work.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest gift I could ever receive in return. So I can't wait to see how people have been dealing with it now that it's released, considering when this is going to be released, this whole interview. But yeah, it's been a whole experience, man. A wild few weeks.
Yes. And I think the experience, and I think the reward, and again, not, keeping money out of it, in the reward for the art that you created is only just beginning. And I know me personally, I've appreciated seeing some of that artwork. I can't wait to see it on Thursday live, and what a moment it will be. So Thursday, the 25th of February, Nifty Gateway is the place to be. Aeforia, Alexi, I hope that we can do this again for a special moment in the future. And for now, I can only imagine the level of emotion that went into creating this work. But I'd like to say, I don't think you have anything to fear from here.
I appreciate that, man. And yeah, it's, now that it's all done, I'm super proud, and I look at the work and I get a bit like emotional, because it's now done, and I had this wild idea a few weeks ago, and now it's real, it's released, and it's just awesome. And I feel like this is the perfect medium to do it, because how the blockchain works. You can keep trace of everything. So to me, as I said in my statement, it's a way to like acknowledge that they're here and that I still have to work on them, but now I cannot ignore them anymore. I have to face them, because they will be out there forever, technically. So that's the whole idea, tokenizing my fears and just trying to be better as a person.
Alexi, onward and upward.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your origin story and the depth behind all of your artwork.
It's my pleasure, man. Thanks for doing all of this.
Of course. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. See ya.